Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and our 12th episode of Lightspeed. Bringing you Star Wars news and headlines in under 15 minutes for those commutes, walks with a dog, you know, those quick dinner preps, whatever you got going on. 15 minutes, we're going to stuff some Star Wars news down those eardrums of yours, and we'll start off with stuff from the High Republic. So, High Republic Wave 2, the second wave of content from the High Republic storytelling initiative is here for Light and Life. The highly anticipated next series of books in Star Wars The High Republic have arrived, along with a new trailer showcasing the multimedia initiative. Of course, we got Star Wars The High Republic The Rising Storm, written by Cavan Scott, and Star Wars The High Republic Race to Crashpoint Tower, written by Daniel Jose Older, both on shelves right now, as well as including some special edition covers and posters, with Star Wars The High Republic Out of the Shadows arriving on July 27th. So we're going to take a listen really quick to this new trailer covering all the Wave 2 content from the High Republic, and we'll talk a little bit about Tempest Runner just after that.
The biggest Star Wars publishing event of all time begins a bold new chapter. In an age of peace and unity, Jedi allies protect the Republic as worlds align in celebration, but they face a battle on two fronts: a monstrous terror that consumes all in its path, and vengeful marauders ready to strike back. The Knights of the High Republic must defend against these merciless enemies. The Jedi will be tested in this pivotal moment in the High Republic as the epic saga continues.
The Rising Storm, Race to Crashpoint Tower, Out of the Shadows, and Tempest Runner all coming at us. Two of those already here. Out of the Shadows is more or less a sequel to the young adult series. Race to Crashpoint Tower is for the juniors, and The Rising Storm is the Del Rey adult novels covering a sequel for Light of the Jedi, which came out earlier this year in January. Of course, the multimedia project is for anyone who wants to read all the books. Of course, we'll get the full coverage, the full story, but there's one book for each category of reader: junior, young adult, and adult. There is now, of course, also written by Cavan Scott, Tempest Runner, an audio drama exclusive, dropping this fall, and a lot of people looking forward to this one because it's now the third exclusively written audio drama that Star Wars has done so far, following in the footsteps of the Dr. Aphra and Dooku Jedi Lost. Both of them were exceptionally well done. Dr. Aphra was an adaptation of the comic series, but Dooku Jedi Lost was an all-original script written for audio, and they did an exceptional job with that one. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Tempest Runner works out. And that's all we got for High Republic related stuff at the moment. So if any of you guys are neck deep in that wave of that era of content, it's been a pretty interesting story so far. The comics have been ongoing. I think issue number 6 just dropped in the Marvel series, and I believe we're on issue number 5, I think it is, for the IDW comic book series for those readers, and lots of stuff going on between that and the books. So, I mean, you know, an incredible amount of content for the High Republic. Let's take a quick look at Star Wars Visions. The Anime EXPO Lite, I believe it was, convention was this past weekend, or this past week, and we had a preview as far as the Star Wars Visions project that they announced, I believe it was last year at some point, or maybe a year and a half ago. I totally forget when it was that they announced that this was going to be a thing, but we got a little bit of a sneak peek as to what's coming our way, so let's take a listen.
Star Wars Visions is going to be an exciting anime anthology series coming to Disney Plus in September. Japanese animation inspired a lot of the people at Lucasfilm over the years. We loved the idea of seeing Star Wars expressed in that way.
Each one of these studios that we approached, we found hardcore Star Wars fans. They all had a story they wanted to tell.
初めてスター・ウォーズの企画って言ったらもうあれなんかこのような夢のようなことができるのかなっていうふうにはちょっと思いましたね。
いやもうついに来たなと、もう待ってました。
その時の提案の内容がこれスター・ウォーズでこれやっていいのかっていうなんか 面白いものだったんで。
We were looking for something from the heart and soul of the individual creators. They are their visions through the lens of Star Wars.
There are so many genres at play. Big and bold, romantic and sweeping, funny, comedic.
で、この作品独自の、スタイルとしては、ロックオペラということで、
日本の山岳文化みたいなことをしっかり描けたらな。
万国教の双子が生まれて、これがどうなるのかというのが基本的な設定ですね。
ライトセーバーって子供の夢が詰まったガジェットだと思うんですよね。でそれをさらに今回僕はここもちょっと和のテイストみたいなもの。
We try to have some retro, vintage feeling. We couldn't skip the Astro Boy influence. People love Astro Boy.
どちらかといえば自分は最初象徴的な意味を、さっき言ったように、人間の姿をしてない主人公にしたかった。
スター・ウォーズみたいな時代劇を作りたいマスターとパダワンが未知の敵みたいなのに遭遇するっていうお話ですね。本当に最後はスター・ウォーズあれば、本望だったなとは思います。
We feel so fortunate to be working with these filmmakers. There are so many opportunities to reflect Japanese storytelling in a Star Wars universe.
Star Wars Visions is completely different than everything else in Star Wars storytelling. Audiences will fall in love with it.
Mark your calendars, we won't have to wait long for the series. Star Wars Visions will arrive September 22nd on Disney+. And this is what StarWars.com had to say on Visions. The storytelling didn't have to fit into the timeline. In developing the series, Lucasfilm made the decision to let creators tell the stories they wanted to tell, whether they featured established or original characters without a need to tie into the larger chronology. We really wanted to give these creators a wide creative berth to explore all the imaginative potential of the Star Wars galaxy through a unique lens of anime, James Wow said. We realized we wanted these to be as authentic as possible to the studios and creators who are making them, made through their unique process in a medium they're such experts at. So the idea was, this is their vision, rifing off all the elements of the Star Wars galaxy that inspired them, hopefully to make a really incredible anthology series, unlike anything we've seen before in the Star Wars galaxy. So the studios behind Star Wars Visions make up quite the culmination of all-star anime studios. And forgive my pronunciation if some of these are terribly pronounced. Kamikaze Duga is producing The Duel. Geno Studio, also known as Twin Engine, is going to be doing Lop and Ocho. Studio Colorido, also Twin Engine, is going to be producing Tatooine Rhapsody. Trigger will be producing The Twins, as well as another anime called The Elder. Kinema Citrus will be producing The Village Bride. Science Saru will be producing Akakiri, as well as the anime short T0B1. And Production IG will be producing The Ninth Jedi, which there's a lot of hype for because Production IG, if you didn't know, is the original anime studio responsible for Ghost in the Shell, as well as Ghost in the Shell 2. So, very well-known anime studios working on these projects. And some concept art was shown in the preview. I urge all of you guys to look up this little Star Wars Visions video that we listened to for yourself, which is available on the Star Wars YouTube channel. For Lucasfilm, Star Wars Visions was a long time coming, and several panelists expressed their fandom for the anime, as well as the fact that it wasn't a prerequisite, but the creators behind the Star Wars Visions shorts are all Star Wars fans. All of them. Every single one. Guys, there's so much to talk about Star Wars Visions. I'm going to link the page to StarWars.com in the description below this episode. It's very much recommended. Just give it a read, and the special look of Star Wars Visions is on that page as well. You can catch that preview as well as all the things that StarWars.com had to say right there on StarWars.com, and you can read a little bit about each anime short that is going to be produced. Just one thing about it, and a little fun fact, as well as some quotes from the crew behind some of these things, as well as a little bit about the music and some of them. It's a good read, and there's 20 different things that we learned from the Star Wars Visions panel. And that's exactly what the article is called. It was produced, or actually it was written July 3rd, 2021, so it's very, very new. Cutting edge article here, and the deepest dive into a preview that we have if you didn't attend the conference yourself. So give it a look, give it a read, and I'm sure, Lucasfilm is confident that we're all going to find something to enjoy with Star Wars Visions. Even if you're not an anime person, if you've never seen anime before, they're, one of the guys in charge of the whole thing says, this is a quote from him, "These things go together like peanut butter and chocolate." So hopefully they love the combination as much as everybody does. So he's talking about Star Wars and anime, kind of mixing it up, becoming one thing, becoming a sandwich, and blending the two together. It's one and the same. I mean, anime very much originates from Japan, as well as a lot of inspired concepts visually in the Star Wars galaxy also originated from some of the earlier Japanese cinema that George Lucas watched as a young film student. So it's very much these things share the same roots and kind of in a way fit so well together. And visually speaking, I think Star Wars Visions is going to be quite something special. As far as the opening statement that they had to say about Star Wars Visions, which was it didn't have to fit in the timeline, my theory is that these shorts will not be canon, all right? And that's just my theory. There's a possibility there that they will just brand it as Legends material, or perhaps we're looking at a new era of Star Wars just taking that title away altogether, possibly. I have no idea how they're going to get this to work. Maybe they just approached it from the standpoint of like, oh, what if we start telling stories that don't really go through story group at all, and just see how it works out. And and if there's a big problem, then maybe we can do something about it. But I'd be very curious to see how Star Wars Visions works in the canonicity, if it is in fact canon. And let's also not forget that there is a book written by Emma Miko Candon, which is an upcoming canon novel. Apparently it's canon novel, and it's supposed to be a novel that works itself into the Star Wars Visions project somehow, and I have no idea how that's supposed to look, seeing as all these animes are done by separate studios telling separate stories. But this original novel will play a part in tying into that anthology series one way or another. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out as well. So, the idea that this is canon might not be completely lost at all. I mean, for those of you hoping that it is canon, very well could be. It's just my theory with that statement that they made. I thought it was a little curious to say that they didn't need to abide by the existing timeline. I thought that was very odd. Anyhow, that's all we got for today. It's High Republic, Star Wars Visions, bunch of stuff that dropped. Check it out for yourself online. Guys, may the Force be with you. We'll see you in the next episode.